Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, and I believe everybody else can. Can you hear?
Yeah, thanks. Just checking.
Hi. Good to see you. You running? You're running in 2022? You should run. You run all the time.
No.
I get it.
I turned 7 years old.
Oh, I just met a mayor. I just met a mayor. She's 74 and she's still running. Oh. This could have been your chance. It's going by district. You have a higher opportunity. It's more,
I had 2 shots at it.
we need more people of color representation up here.
Yeah. She's trying to tell me.
Yeah,
That because my grandkids,
I
I had a
understand.
chance to do.
I know somebody is. Oh, that is really good. Madam Clerk, can you turn on the mics? Okay. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 29, 2021. The time is 8 p.m. We are convening the special session of a special meeting, the following of which will come to order. the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City's Housing Asset Successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra,
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas noches.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. This evening, I'm going to offer the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our wonderful flag by our city manager, Keith Metzler. So will we all bow our heads? Father in heaven, we come before you thankful that you hear us. We know that you're omnipotent and omnipresent and omniscient, all of these things that we rely on so much, whether we're mindful of it in our daily lives. As the heavens are higher than the earth, Lord, we know that your ways are higher than our ways and your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And you know, Lord, we always are making plans in our hearts, but really it's you that directs our steps. And so we ask tonight, Lord, that you would incline our heart toward your perfect will for our city. Our intent, our desire is to do what is good and right and noble and just for our neighbors. And we ask that you would grant us favor in your sight and that you would confirm the work of our hands in the name of the one who suffered so much so that we might not grow weary and not grow faint-hearted and know that you're always with us. In Jesus' name, amen. Mr.
Amen.
Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would everybody please rise, face the flag, put your hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please present the agenda and any revisions thereto?
Madam Mayor, there are no revisions to the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, council members, are there any conflicts of interest to declare by any of you? Seeing, hearing none, we're going to move on to the introduction to public comments. But before I do that, Madam Clerk, do we have requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. With
Yes,
that-
I would like to speak as member of the public.
Thank you. Ms. Gomez, if you'll kindly proceed down to the podium. So Ms. Gomez is going to speak as a member of the audience with none of the authority or the color of authority granted to her to do that. So the audience is going to have to judge for itself how much weight to give to Ms. Gomez's comments. Welcome, Ms. Gomez. And so, Ms. Gomez, as this is a special meeting, the only item that you can speak to is item number 1 this evening.
So I was elected for 8,000 votes, so I do carry weight. And I'm going to be addressing a few things regarding this particular item with inclusion, exclusion, money appropriations in this specific
Just
item
Specifically on item number 1.
and this specific item.
Yes, thank you.
So I have issue, and there's an email that I did send out. 24 hours is not something that is very inclusive in regards to the $30 million that are going to be appropriated in tonight's
So, Ms.
meeting.
Gomez, we are speaking
And
to item number 1,
there's-
not the transparency law.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, are you interrupting me?
Yes, I am. Ms.
Okay.
Gomez, if we could just hold for a moment. So
Sure.
in special meetings, the Brown Act provides that the comment period is restricted and confined to the items posted on the agenda. The only item on this evening's agenda is item number 1. So there's no, there cannot be discussion about transparency laws and so forth. So this is a special meeting. The agenda was posted in accordance with law. So please move on and confine your remarks to
so the
item number
email-
1.
So the email that I sent out was specifically because of the 24-hour notice that was placed for appropriations of $30 million. And
If
we
you
have
would like
a
to speak to the
resolution.
resolution, you may do so. Otherwise, we're going to move
And
on.
there's a resolution that includes a number 5, which I hold issue, and that's the only issue, not much. But we are giving a lot of power for whatever reason to someone who has already committed fraud, which is our city manager, and I hold issue to that. So I would hope that we would consider I call it item 5, but it's really number 5. I thought that position or that titleship was for the mayor, but maybe it could be clarified for me. And that was all I had to add. Thank you.
Ms. Gomez, I just was lost. I didn't know what number 5 you were talking about, so. So just, an admonishment to the audience that the member was not speaking to anything posted on the agenda and was out of order. All right, Madam Clerk, any other requests to speak?
Yes, via Zoom, Romero Rodriguez.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez. Welcome. And before we do that, since we do have a member of the audience that is not a council member, Chair is going to read the introduction to comments. So, Mr. Rodriguez, welcome to tonight's meeting, and everyone else, welcome to the meeting of our City Council. We're interested in your ideas and opinions, and furthermore, we endeavor to incorporate them into deliberations. At the same time, the council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with Government Code Sections 54957.9 and our established policies and procedures. Individual speakers may address the council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Additional time may be allocated for appeal hearings in accordance with the city's adopted policy and procedures manual. All testimony during this special meeting is limited to items posted on the agenda and must be directed solely to the council. Open meeting laws do not permit council members to engage in dialogue during public comment periods, and speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number that will be addressed. And this evening, as we are in a special meeting, we're only going to take up item number 1. So audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome.
Hello, council and people present, 3 or 4 of them. I guess you guys needed time to prepare somebody else to contradict what I'm going to say. That's old news. But I'm really against all these special meetings, especially reading the agenda. It says in one place it says 35 million, in other places it says 30 million, and it's really vague on how the money is going to be used. If it's going to be accommodated just like they did in Los Angeles for the hotels and motels, the home keys, that's going to be the same, or you guys are going to apply different factors for it. It's all very suspicious about you guys doing this at the last moment. I don't understand why you don't agendize this for a regular meeting where more people are online. I know there's people on YouTube, or 2-3 people. Yesterday there was no more than 5. The other day there was no more than 5 people listening to the meeting. We need to get more people united and getting together to find out exactly what you guys are doing. And as I see this right now, it's an emergency meeting, 8 o'clock at night. Most people don't know about it. So what are you trying to hide? That's the image that I get. That's the perception that I get as a citizen from Victorville. And it's just one thing after the other, one thing after the other, one thing after the other. What are you trying to hide to prevent the people from knowing about these meetings? You do all these emergency meetings right in the middle of nowhere. You have them in the middle of the night. You know, it's a surprise you didn't have it at 2 o'clock in the morning. But what are you trying to pass? What are you going to pull this time? Is it going to be another Mars? Is it going to be another SEC investment fraud? What's going to happen with this? Are we going to be sued again for misappropriation of funds? Really, we need to really think this out, who we have leading us. We don't have leaders. We have just people that we have to look out for and from. That's our leadership we have in Victorville. It's a sad day. And too bad no one's listening to this conversation. No one's listening. There's nobody there because nobody knew about the meeting. So I'm just yelling in the air, and that's what you want. Congratulations. You might have won this little battle, but the war's not over yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. And for purposes of clarification, to make sure that the record is clear, this is not an emergency meeting. This is a special meeting called in accordance with the provisions provided for and required in the Brown Act. Mr. Metzler, to confirm, were the posting requirements met according to the Brown Act provisions?
Yes, they were.
And that state law is to protect open meeting access and also transparency to the public. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Angel Esparza,
Good evening, Ms. Esparza. Welcome. Mr. Esparza.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can't do my video.
No, sir.
Oh, okay. I should have just stuck around. So I was there for the planning commission meeting just a little bit ago. And I happened to notice a special called meeting, which wasn't on the agenda yesterday morning, which I didn't see it. So I'm calling with regards to item 1, the home key grant project there for the let's see here. Let me get some clarification here. For the services of homeless and those at risk. Again, my name is Angel Esparza. I'm a representative from the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I'm also a member. I live, work, and recreate within the vicinity. You guys I'm sure you guys remember me. So good evening tonight. I know there's hardly anybody on here, but for the record, I just want to say this. I know that we are pushing to push this, get this project passed and funds allocated towards it due that it's a home key grant. I want to, for the record, most of these projects here that are going to be built here for this type of home key grant are going to be, in fact, be built by folks that don't live within the city. And these are going to be folks who don't have a pathway. Our local folks are unfortunately not going to have a pathway to a career or even an opportunity to build something like this and or future projects that come down the line. They're often given to awarded to contractors who are, don't belong or have any ties to the city. The workers come in, they'll build and take off. And so there's no actual economic or community wealth being developed from these type of home key projects. I would ask the council to take into consideration tonight when making a selection. Please, let's have a look at local hire. Let's have a look at a responsible contractor like the folks over at Skanska. That bridge there, you got many local folks that work on that project today. So I would hope that we were looking towards in awarding this project if coming down the pipe here. Yes, I would hope that we take in consideration a responsible contractor with a local hire component and involving an apprenticeship program. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Esparza. So this item is related to approving or not approving a resolution to apply for a grant. And so the chair has afforded a lot of latitude in the comments this evening for the 2 previous speakers. But any speakers going forward, please confine your remarks to the
I
actual
object as
purpose.
untrue.
Ms. Gomez has not been recognized by the
object.
chair and is out of order and will suspend.
You are not speaking rightfully.
Ms. Gomez will suspend.
I still object.
All right, Madam Clerk, any other requests?
there are no more requests, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So the public comment period is closed. The chair brings the item back to the council. We're going to take up our first and only business in order this evening, which is written communications, beginning with item number 1. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council, and certainly appreciate you calling the meeting in such short order on such short notice. This item wouldn't be asked to be brought forward if it wasn't important. And you're correct in your earlier statement that this item that's being considered before the council tonight is specific to approving a resolution only to authorize the submittal of a grant application to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. In this particular case, the application that we're talking about is Home Key 2 type funding, which is believed to be the best source of funding available for us as the city to achieve our ultimate goal of constructing a wellness and recuperative care center in Old Town Victorville to help address and provide support to our homeless community. You may recall around this time last year, we as a city were pursuing Home Key 1 funds and were actually awarded, but because of the tight timeframes associated with those funds, we chose to turn that money down and put ourselves in a position of better defining by retaining an architect, better defining what the project is going to look like. So we have done that, and we've gone through a design of the project. We've been made aware that the Home Key 2 funding will start as early as tomorrow. And it's our understanding that the state HCD will be considering applications on a first come, first served basis. While this council has authorized staff previously to go ahead and submit applications and pursue whatever funding available to help further our homelessness goals. HCD specifically, and we learned this yesterday, HCD is specifically requiring a resolution be adopted in their form on their template and have it approved by the legislative body, in this case, the city council, to accompany such applications. So that is the reason. In fact, we didn't get a copy of that form resolution, I believe, until 2 days ago. Was the first time that we saw it. And yesterday we were made aware that it's absolutely required. So that is the reason for the quick scramble to get this meeting before you. To be clear, this item that you're considering has nothing to do with the appropriation of funds. The monies that are spoken to in the application more so are to help illustrate what the application that we're submitting will be for. So with that, we do have a brief overview from the author of this item, Mr. Webb. If so desired by this council, we can have Mr. Webb provide a brief update, since we have made some progress over the last several months as to the project, and he can shed light as to what this application in better detail will look like.
Sure, Mr. Webb.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Thank you for convening this meeting for this urgent funding opportunity. Like Keith or Mr. Metzler stated, I'll be providing a brief overview. So let me go ahead and share my screen now. All right. I'd like to first just give an overview of the Wellness Center campus for those that may be attending tonight that haven't been acquainted with this project that we've been working on for over a year now. The Wellness Center, we're proposing it down in Old Town Victorville. It is located east of East Street, adjacent to the Mojave River, with quick access to freeways and other services in the city. This is a bird's eye view of the city-owned property that's looking in the northeasterly direction. The city owns roughly 10 acres in this area. And there is a small portion of it, which is located right about here, that is owned by the County Flood Control District. However, earlier this year, the City Council and the Board of Supervisors approved a participation agreement, which allows us to have immediate site control and allows us to purchase the property over the next 2 years. So we're currently engaging with the County Flood Control District and also the real estate division to finalize that acquisition. But currently, the entire project site is under city control. Next slide here. This is one of the most recent colored site plans So I want to give a brief overview of how this campus has evolved. Of that area that I spoke of that the city owns, this campus will take up 4.5 acres of that. It's increased now to roughly 26,000 square feet of building. 9,600 square feet of that is in community space, which is centrally located on the campus. That's more than double the amount of community space which we originally envisioned for this project. Also slightly modified is the actual modular units that are located along the peripheral of the site. In our prior version, all of these units were for individual occupancy. But we found with talking with other service providers that providing like a roommate scenario where you'd have 2 beds in a room would be beneficial for the operator and also for the clientele to have that camaraderie between other individuals. But all in all, we still have a total of 110 separate units. And then the campus is slightly increased in bed capacity to 170 beds. That number could increase without providing additional building space by simply adding bunk beds to any of the units. But currently, there's no plans for bunk beds in the current design. All right, and then just to zoom in a little bit more on this campus design and the support services that are offered. This is the centralized community building. And I can go ahead and zoom in a little bit more to give you some more detail. The project's meant for those that are homeless that are housed at this facility, but it's also meant for those that are at risk of becoming homeless. And we have planned the facility for the general community to take advantage of the resources that are on site. And so this centralized campus has a main entry point where individuals would walk through, go through a security check, and then enter a secured courtyard where they'd have access to a medical clinic. This would be a federally qualified health center, and also ample office space for support services. There's also a recuperative care offices for individuals that are exiting hospitals. And then we also have an industrialized kitchen with flex space for classrooms to provide additional support services. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to our Homeless Solutions Coordinator, Cassandra Searcy, to go over some of the partnerships that we've been working on.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Actually, Scott, could you go back to the previous slide? Just wanted to highlight some things. So before I talk about the support services, I want to stress that every wellness center guest will be assigned a case manager who will create an individualized service plan that will be realistic to that individual's needs, allowing that person to successfully exit from shelter and transition into housing, as that is the ultimate goal. So some of the support services on site will include job training and placement, help with documents like birth certificates, identification cards, social security cards, help obtaining public benefits, housing navigation, behavioral health counseling, and substance use disorder counseling. And currently there are no recuperative care services in the high desert whatsoever. So having a recuperative care center on site that's professionally managed will allow hospitals and HMOs to better coordinate safe discharges for homeless individuals still in need of recovery for chronic and acute health conditions. And also, I want to stress in terms of individuals in the community who are at risk of becoming homeless. Scott mentioned the use of our wellness support service office building and the medical clinic. This will be available to community members who are either at risk of being homeless or low income. Some of the on-site services that they will be provided include rental assistance, utility assistance, the ability to participate in job training and placement services, and as I mentioned, the medical clinic. Yes, members from the community who are low income or who have no health insurance will be able to access services at our medical clinic. And this clinic will be operated by an FQHC, which stands for Federally Qualified Health Center. And some of the services offered at the medical clinic will include primary care, prenatal care, immunizations, and dental care. Okay, next slide, Scott. So this slide right here represents a list of some of the agencies that have expressed an interest in partnering with the city to provide operational support services. So for instance, we have Goodwill Industries and San Bernardino County Workforce Development, which will provide job training and placement. IEHP has expressed an interest in providing contracts to agencies like Illumination Foundation for the recuperative care, and Helping Hearts of California to oversee the behavioral health units, providing on-site treatment, clinical support services, case management, and housing navigation, be it bridge housing, transitional housing, or permanent housing. The Department of Behavioral Health will also contract with agencies like Helping Hearts, but specifically, they will provide telehealth services on site. So if you're not familiar with telehealth services, basically that allows an individual to actually go into a room, a private room, and through a projected screen or a computer, they will be able to connect with their therapist or their clinician. This is excellent for individuals who may be going through some type of mental health episode. And the nearest DBH clinic, even from our proposed wellness center, it's about 4 or 5 miles away. So in this case, an individual will not have to go off-site to the DBH clinic. They actually can go into a private room and connect with their counselor or connect with their therapist. Recently, the town of Apple Valley expressed an interest in partnering with the city on this wellness center project. They will have funding available to contribute towards operational expenses as they are in a home consortia with the city of Victorville. And in terms of housing providers, we have agencies like Lighthouse Social Services, Keys Nonprofit. There's several others that are not listed just due to space, but Victor Valley Family Resource Center, Life Community Development. These are all agencies that have a long history providing housing services to individuals who are either homeless or who are low income. And they currently provide these services directly in the city of Victorville as well as the High Desert. They're also all connected with the Inter-County, it's called the Inter-County, it's the Interagency Council on Homelessness. It's ICH. And then we have SAC Health System. If you're not familiar with SAC Health System, it's a medical health facility that's connected to Loma Linda Hospital. They have expressed a strong interest in operating our on-site medical clinic. They are an FQHC. And this list, it's not exhaustive, but it just kind of provides or illustrates how several agencies are willing to come along and provide support services or operational services to the Wellness Center. And the list continues to grow. I just got off the phone with Community Action Partnership. They would like to provide, rental assistance, utility assistance, things that I mentioned. And there's several others. So with that said, I'm going to hand it back over to Mr. Scott Webb, who can now discuss our development team.
Thank you, Cassandra. And in my haste, I jumped over some details on the site plan. So I'm going to back up a bit just so I could sit on this slide for a second and explain some more of the features and give people some better bearings on this campus. So what you're seeing here on the screen is the complete phase 1 campus. This would be the end of First Street, which would end in a cul-de-sac with a future bus stop. The area to the south of this would be maintained as a grass field part of Evadale Park. This would be the terminus of River Street. And so you have access into a parking lot. And then there would be gated entrances for fire access to this loop road here. And around the peripheral is where we have all of the modular units. The different populations that we'll be able to serve are groups with mild to moderate mental health issues. We'd also be housing individual males and females. Folks with recuperative care would be housed in these clusters. And then we also have a cluster of units dedicated just for families. The campus also includes a dog run park area with a animal kennel on site. This area here is slated for a community garden. And as you can see, there's ample open space for assembly, recreational courts, and other open space areas for the individuals to congregate. And with that, I'm going to jump back to the development team. As Mr. Metzler mentioned, we have made sufficient progress. And in February, the city authorized a contract with CMC Architects to undergo the design of this project. And we're making sufficient progress and hope to have complete plans by the end of next month. We've also been walking along this path with Connect Homes. Connect Homes is a manufacturer that has a factory in San Bernardino. They actually started their company off making luxury manufactured homes. But they've recently transitioned, and they still make luxury homes, but they've recently transitioned to offer these type of shelter units where you're seeing a portion of it here. They received multiple awards and recently received an award from during the San Francisco Design Week for what was it? It was for a social impact award based on this shelter design. And it's a design that's been tested before. Home Key round one, Connect Homes was able to partner with a developer in Mountain View, which is in Northern California by the Bay Area. And they were able to perform and develop these units. And we have residents that are enjoying them right now in Mountain View. And then this summer, we've consulted with ECOR to handle all of the California Environmental Quality Act and NEPA requirements at the federal level. And both of the environmental review and the construction documents should be finalized by the end of this year. And then just to give you some more details, this is, again, just to reiterate some of the work that's been done. This is the latest site plan with some more details on it. I also wanted to mention, as was stated in the staff report, that staff's pursuing future projects. This area that's in the crosshatching here on the left side would be a future grant opportunity for the city to seek funding for a permanent supportive housing project for those that are exiting the interim housing at the wellness center and would have a permanent housing next to the campus where they could still tap into the resources within our community space. And with that, that provides a brief overview, but we're here to answer any questions you may have on the project and this funding opportunity.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, but I was just made aware there is a correction to the recommendation section. The dollar amount currently reads 30,000, but it should read 35,000 as it, sorry, 30 million, and it should read 35 million as it is stated throughout the rest of the staff report and in the resolution. So I'll be happy to read that recommendation with the corrected dollar amount.
I have 35 million on my recommendation.
I have 30 million.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
That the Honorable City Council adopt resolution number 21-101, authorizing the application for Home Key Round 2 funds in an amount not to exceed $35 million.
Thank you. All right. So before we move on to technical questions for clarification, Mr. Bortnowski, I have a question for you in the way that this item was posted. So in the description, this talks, the question that we're supposed to be taking up this evening and is what was given to the public so that they could weigh in and, you know, whether or not they wanted to participate in this meeting. was to deal specifically with the adoption of the resolution. And so we've got this wonderful update this evening, and I appreciate that, but is this going far beyond the intent of the posted agenda item to start talking about the particulars of the upcoming project?
No, I think it's related since this is an application for funding, and it's important, I think, for the public to know what those funds are going to be spent on. So I think that's absolutely appropriate.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we're going to now move on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report and the presentation. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and begin with Member Becerra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Metzler or Mr. Webb, of the 110 units, how many will be specifically available for handicap?
Yes, thank you for that question. Actually, all of the units will be handicap accessible. Some of those will be even suited with additional features for people with hearing or vision impairments.
Thank you. And this one's probably for Cassandra, and I do apologize of all of the people that are in with us and in our operational team. What I didn't notice there, the veterans, do we have any services that are going to be given specifically for veterans? Because I know they have an office opening on La Paz and 7th right now. Have we gotten with them to see if they want to open up something down there?
Well, in terms of the Wellness Center, we're going to open up our doors to probably 90% of the homeless demographics that we have up here in the high desert, which does include veterans, seniors, families, people who are chronically homeless, victims of domestic violence. We haven't really excluded anyone, but yeah, I am aware that the veterans are trying to do something in addition to, but our particular Wellness Center is pretty much doors open to most anybody who's homeless, other than maybe someone who's a sexual offender.
That was my next question. Thank you. Anybody registered on Megan's Law will not be allowed to stay there, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Do we have a plan for a COVID type outbreak for down there?
Well, that was the whole purpose of us utilizing this unique living unit design, because each unit has its own air design flow. So there's no shared air. Like, typically when you have a unit and you have the air duct systems, you're kind of breathing in the same air, but that's not the case with these units. They're all self-contained, and Scott can probably explain it better, but that was the whole purpose of having 110 individualized units where we can reduce the spread of COVID-19. But Scott, would you like to elaborate?
No, you did great.
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, team, for all the work. That's it. No further questions, Madam Mayor.
Member Becerra. All right, and Member Gomez is precluded by policy from speaking as she chose to speak as a member of the audience. Mayor Pro Tem Irving, any technical questions for clarification?
I just have one technical question. Could someone please provide greater clarity for me and elaborate on the rationale for requesting that the council authorize 35 million when we only intend to use or request 25 million? I think it's explained, but can you just offer greater clarity for the public and for myself as well?
Yeah, I think Scott, and we learned, this is under some advice that we received from HCD yesterday on our telecon with them. But Scott, would you elaborate on how we arrived at the 35?
Yeah, so there's not an exact science to that amount, but this is the first time that HCD, due to this funding source, is recommending that applicants request an authorizing resolution that's more than what their actual ask is. And that's due to the fact that there may be additional funding, let's say for operational subsidies that come down later. And that would allow HCD to just grant those funds to the city to utilize without having to return back to the city council for another authorizing resolution.
Okay, and we are anticipating a round 3 for funding as well. Is that correct?
Sorry, you cut out there. Say that again. I'm
Are
sorry.
we anticipating round 3? funding as well?
Yes, the state does plan to have more than $1 billion available next year as well for other projects. So worst case scenario, if we do not get funded this year, there's always a next year. But that's why we're bringing this item to you, because it is a first come, first serve, and we want to make sure that we get our application in as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Webb, I want to say thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work. This is a very impressive list of prospective partnerships. And guys, I want to commend you for an outstanding job. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to be recognized for purposes of clarification.
Yeah, certainly, Ms. Gomez.
Yes, so when I speak during public comment, I'm not allowed to do the comment section, not the Q&A, and today is different. Is there a reason why you have changed
Do you know, Ms.
to
Gomez, I
preclude me? I
apologize.
just want to
Yeah,
understand.
Member Gomez, you're absolutely correct. My apologies. You are entitled to ask questions. I apologize.
Okay,
So
so if I may.
please go ahead. Yes.
So my first question is, what percentage of the targeted population will receive the benefits provided by the Wellness Center?
I believe our homeless solutions coordinator, Cassandra Searcy, answered that. We're estimating close to 90% of the population would be eligible to be housed in this facility.
Did you say that's of the high desert or San Bernardino County?
The goal is to focus on our homeless in Victorville.
So 90% will be Victorville homeless residents. Is that what I heard?
That is what we're gearing this for, is for people that have roots in Victorville and that have other family and connections in this community.
And what are the requirements for at-risk populations? Do we know?
Cassandra, could you?
So when you're referring to at-risk individuals, that's anybody who is on the verge of being homeless. They could be behind on their rent, just to give you an example. It could be somebody who, let's say they're sharing a house or apartment or home with somebody and they're asked to leave, or they've been given a 30-day notice to vacate. It could be somebody who was previously staying in a motel, but they can no longer sustain that type of dwelling because it's consuming the majority of their income, whatever that may be. Those are just examples of individuals who are at risk, who will no longer have a suitable shelter or a suitable place to reside in.
Okay, and how long has staff known about the September 30th application submittal?
Yes, I could take that question. So it was just earlier this month when the notice of funding availability was released. I believe it was September 9th. And they did state that the application would be released on September 30th, which is tomorrow. But we still haven't even seen the application. So Cassandra and I have a long day of work tomorrow ahead of us.
Did staff attend the pre-application counseling requirement?
Yes, we conducted that yesterday afternoon.
And will the city be considering the master leasing of properties for non-congregate housing?
No, we will not need to enter into a master lease agreement.
What about converting units from non-residential to residential?
Well, actually, and I'm not sure, but I believe Scott went over this. On the site plan itself, you'll see an area that's kind of cross-hatched. That identifies what we're calling phase 2. If all goes well, the city would definitely propose a new application with HomeKey next year to establish a micro housing community, about 30 units in total, that would be permanent affordable housing for individuals who are either stepping down or coming out of the wellness center, or for those who have been identified as chronically homeless.
And will there be purchasing of affordability covenants or restrictions for units?
Absolutely. At this point, HCD is requiring a 15-year covenant. That's this year. It could change next year, but it will be attached.
And is Victorville, I'm gonna ask this question. Is Victorville applying independently or jointly with a nonprofit or for-profit corporation as a co-applicant? I did hear Apple Valley, but I wasn't sure.
We're applying independently. Apple Valley could come along and provide operational subsidies once the Wellness Center is complete, but the City of Victorville is going solo as an applicant for this Project Home Key.
Okay, and just for clarification, I was under the impression that the 30 million were going to be appropriated. It was corrected to 35. So the clarification, it was only there for display.
That was merely a typo, just stated in the recommendation. The resolution as it's presented does have the correct request of up to 35 million.
But let me clarify, this item is not appropriating funds. This is just authorizing the application for funds in that amount. We are not making an appropriation of funds in our city budget.
Thank you for the clarification. Will the City of Victorville be considering home key funds for any phase for hotels?
This is the only project that the city's identified as a lead applicant.
What about for motels or hostels?
The county also can become a lead applicant and propose projects within the county of San Bernardino. We are not aware of currently any projects that they plan to submit for Victorville.
Okay. What about for single family homes?
I believe this home key funding does apply to single family homes, but we are not a part of any of those applications.
Multifamily apartments?
No,
Our
ma'am.
focus is just this project, and our focus has been on this project based upon previous approvals from the Homelessness Solutions Task Force, along with the city council, and having approved our strategic plan. So this is our number one priority, and this is the only project that we're focused on funding at this time.
Okay, so I do have, you can say yes or no. I don't understand what you said. I suppose it's just this project, but for the sake of the record, for multifamily apartments, was that a no? At least for now?
Correct.
Adult residential facilities?
No.
And what about for manufacturing housing?
Well, you know, the Wellness Center campus is using prefabricated modular units. I'm not sure if that constitutes as manufactured housing, but they are prefabricated modular units.
What about for conversion of commercial properties or existing buildings to permanent or interim housing?
No.
No. And for the target population, will we be attending to homeless youth?
Actually, homeless youth will be allowed at the Wellness Center, but there is another agency in the High Desert Family Assistance Program that is also seeking home key funds. But even more so than that, they have established, I believe, 2 or 3 homeless youth shelters in the High Desert. They do an excellent job. So if someone were to come to our facility that qualifies in the TAY age range, which is like anywhere from 16 to 24 or 16 to 26, we would take them in, but the case managers would work with Family Assistance Program to navigate them to an agency that specifically deals with youth.
And I know we're going to assist the chronically homeless. Will we be allowing for a family unit since we're just placing 2 per unit?
Yeah, actually, we have made arrangements for around approximately 21 beds in the family unit area. And the families can be anywhere from, 2, 3, 4, 5. So single parent or parents with children, there's different flexibility within each of those units.
And will the proposed project be also catering to unaccompanied homeless individuals with disability conditions, episodic homeless
time is up.
individuals, and transitional homeless?
Thank you, Member Gomez. All right, and once again, Member Gomez, I apologize for the chair's error. I got a little bit ahead of myself. All right, so Mayor Pro Tem Irving, questions?
I've already
You
asked
already
my
did?
question just now. Thank
Sorry,
you.
I marked her off and not you. All right, so just a few questions, if I may. So the last time that we did this, we did get the grant, but it came so late that the city declined it because we wouldn't be able to spend it in time that would have posed a financial risk to the city. Is my understanding correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so now we're back at this, and it appears that the state is giving ample time in giving the grants and allowing the monies to be expended.
Yes, and that is correct. And we're actually better prepared this time in the sense that we actually have design drawings, environmental work done, and would be closer to being in a position of actually awarding a construction contract.
Right. So then that leads me to my next question. So we have done in the course of less than a year, a lot more work in planning and putting all of this together in the hopes that this is going to work in our favor toward getting the grant. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Our goal is to try to make sure we're more competitive when this application comes available. And we believe we are more competitive and prepared.
Right. So tomorrow begins the first day that they're going to start awarding or start reviewing applications.
Accepting applications.
Okay. All right. And so when was the period that, when did the period open that they started receiving applications? Do we know?
Tomorrow would be the first day.
Tomorrow is the first day, so we're not behind on that. Okay, fabulous. And then just one other quick question. Is Simba Center going to be involved in this, in providing wraparound services at all?
I believe the answer is yes, but Ms. Searcy is our closest to our friends at Simba Center. I'll allow Ms. Searcy to elaborate.
Hi, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Keith. Simba Center absolutely is going to be connected to this project. Dr. Sean Smith actually did internship with SAC Health System. So there was already a good working relationship. Should the city decide to go with SAC Health System as the FQHC, SAC has already stated that they have a need for what's called street medicine, and that is able to provide medical care and services to individuals who are homeless, who don't have health insurance, and Dr. Smith and Dr. Nayer of Choice Medical Group would be able to fill that void.
Terrific. All right, well, those are all the questions that the chair has. And with that said, the chair is going to invite a motion to adopt staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by member Becerra, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Now we're going to move on to discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, member Becerra.
No questions, just good job, guys.
Thank you. And this is where Member Gomez is precluded from speaking as she spoke as a member of the audience. Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
No, again, I just want to reiterate that this, great job, staff, and this is it's exciting, actually, a comprehensive center. This is exciting. So thank you.
It is, thank you. And the chair echoes the sentiments of her colleagues. With that said, the discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council has just taken action in accordance with the recommendations set out on the agenda. That being said, that concludes our business for this evening. And as a matter of housekeeping, all council members, staff, and audience members will kindly vacate council chambers and City Hall within 10 minutes. That's at 9:04 p.m. so that these facilities may be cleaned and secured for the evening. Members of the public are not permitted behind the